CF and social situations.
I got cystic fibrosis. See, I've got cystic fibrosis.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Staying Salty. My name is Chelsea and this is a channel where 6 different people talk about what it's like to live with cystic fibrosis, different CF related topics as well as life topics and how we've navigated them in our own lives. So this week we are not talking about red wine, although that would be a lovely topic. But actually I'm going to put this down because if anyone watching this knows me, this is not going to end up very well because I was actually voted biggest klutz in college. So anything red wine colored ends up everywhere except for my mouth. So I'm just gonna alleviate that issue now. But this week's topic, which is why I have the wine, is cystic fibrosis and social situations. We've already done a topic on cystic fibrosis and public situations, which is more of coughing in public, having to take pills or insulin, things like that, and how you navigate that being out in public instead of being at home alone. This topic is more of being in social situations for the first time or just being in more adult situations such as being in bars, going through adolescence and puberty and college, being exposed to drinking and drugs and cigarettes for the first time, and how you really navigate getting through that, not only as a person, but specifically a cystic fibrosis human, and always keeping in mind your health and things like that. So, with all of that, this has actually been one of the topics that has been probably the most hard to figure out what I really want to say about it. Being a 25-year-old now, I definitely have adapted and formed my own and very solid view and stance on these issues, and I'm very comfortable in where I am right now, and I've already been through all of these first encounter situations, and so I'm not really trying to figure it out anymore. And so I didn't know whether I wanted to come and give you advice from the place where I am right now, or to tell you the truth about what I've gone through and definitely the ups and downs of trying to figure it out for the first time. But what I've come to is a kind of a combination of the two. So to start off, I think the main reason that this is even a topic is that people really are curious on how to navigate being in a bar or being out with people and having a coughing fit, being a cystic fibrosis related person. Especially in these social situations that you kind of get into when you're older. For me, I think it's so crucial to have people around you that support whatever decision it is that you choose to do. I think it's really, really important that first we all sit with ourselves and figure out what we want to do. If we do want to adventure and try drinking, whatever you're comfortable with, I think you have to think in your mind before any situation ever arises. Okay, if there's going to be drinking here, what am I going to do? If I get offered a drink, what am I going to do? If there's drugs, am I going to do X, Y, or Z? Putting yourself mentally in those situations beforehand so that you know how you're going to handle them when they occur is a great way to navigate them when you're actually in them in person. Because if you're first encountering a situation of drugs or alcohol or anything in person for the first time and you're having to think of your answer or what you really want to do on the fly, it might not always be what you really do want to do. So I think approaching these issues way before they even come is a great way to figure out what you're comfortable with when that situation ever arises. So I went to college. I went to University of Tampa for 4 years, graduated cum laude, and I was in a sorority. So if you've seen any movies, you probably already know where the story's going. But I definitely had a great time. But most of my social interactions occurred at bars or around some type of drinking facility. And I loved it. I loved all of my friends. I've made such amazing friends, but that was just my reality. That was the situation that I was in, and I was completely happy with that. The thing that I think is most important for people is having close friends, no matter who you are and no matter what your stance is, to have friends that support whatever decision you are. And this really applies to anyone, not only just cystic fibrosis. But for me, it was really important to have people close to me that understood my cystic fibrosis and understood, you know, maybe if I flew into a coughing fit at the bar, it's okay. And they would make me feel safe and make me feel, you know, that nothing was really a big deal. I know one story in particular, me and my best friend, my roommate from college, we were out at the bar, and I think some guy was either trying to hit on us or do something. And I ended up spiraling into a giant coughing fit in the middle of this crowded bar, like hands on the bar, head down, just coughing. Probably everyone could hear. And I remember she just either kept talking to me or would just move on as if I like sneezed and waited for me to be done and acted like nothing was a big deal because she'd lived with it for 3 years already. So that happened, and she, like normal, just continued on and acted like nothing was going on. And this guy with the most like disgusted look was like, is your friend okay? I think she's dying over there. And I remember her just whipping her head around so fast, and she told this guy off like someone I'd never seen before. She was like, excuse you, you don't even know what the hell she deals with on a day-to-day basis. Like, screw you and your... So inevitably, when I stopped my coughing fit, I started laughing so hard I started another coughing fit because of how she just shooed this guy away because he was being rude about me coughing in the bar. With that whole story, I think it's just so important to keep people around you that are gonna be like that are gonna stand up for you and who are going to be your advocate when maybe you're not actually able to speak at that moment, or that are just gonna make you not feel awkward about doing what is just so normal to your body to do as a cystic fibrosis patient. So I would be lying if I were to say, I don't think my extravagant social life affected my health. It definitely had some impact. My health deteriorated the most it ever has in college. But at the same time, I do think there were so many factors to that, and it was more of a correlation rather than a cause and effect issue. Being a 25-year-old now, I definitely now understand moderation. Everything in moderation. I always tell my friends and my brother and people like that to think of drinking anything like chocolate cake. If I were to eat chocolate cake every day of my life, that would not be healthy. If I were to drink wine or drink out at a bar every day of my life, that would not be healthy either. So definitely was eating a little bit too much chocolate cake back then. So I really have now figured out the moderation aspect is so key with anything. Not just drinking or hopefully not smoking. But I think that was what I learned most. And definitely back then I was I was trying to do too much. I was getting 3.5, 4.0 GPAs. I was in and out of the hospital, still doing all of my treatments every day religiously, and still in a sorority and going to school and trying to have a social life and go out to the bars and go out on the weekends to the beach. I was literally trying to be Superwoman, and it just run me into the ground. And looking back on it, I should have realized I wasn't Superwoman, and I could have definitely cut back in certain areas. But at that time, being with my friends and living the life that I had wanted for myself, which didn't revolve around drinking, but it revolved around being social. It revolved around really enjoying my life and being with those people that made me happy. So definitely taking into consideration what is best for your health beforehand is something I kind of wish I had done, and definitely taken into account more of moderation, just everything in moderation, and listening to your body and trying not to be Superwoman in social situations and realizing some days you might need to bow out of going to the bar or going out and doing fun things, whether it has drinking involved or not. The other issue that is talked about is drugs and things like that, and I think I'm not going to speak too much on that. Like, I will simply say that I'm not an angel. I'll leave it at that. But I really think that anything that you do choose to do, don't inhale anything into your lungs. And I'm not trying to act like mom, but like, yeah, I've made stupid decisions. Learn from my stupid decisions. It's not smart. If it's ever offered, you know, like I said before, I think you really have to sit down with yourself beforehand and figure out how you're gonna navigate that situation best, or don't put yourself in those situations. Or, like I've already said, have friends around you that support your decision and won't make you feel bad or anything about not participating. So that's kind of my take on that. The last element, I think, of this big ball of social realm is the cigarette smoking, which I never really had to deal with. I grew up in Delaware, and then I went to Florida and in California, where in each of those places, smoking inside a facility is illegal. And smoking, I believe smoking outside, I know in California you can't smoke outside on like patios. I just don't really remember smoking being outside of a lot of places that I was in college. So it was never really an issue I ever really thought about until I moved to Atlanta. In Atlanta, there are very, very loose laws about smoking. Like, me and my boyfriend would go to certain bars after 10 o'clock, or, you know, a concert venue downtown, and there's no smoking laws. In a concert venue, people can smoke all they want. And that was something I started to have to navigate myself. It doesn't make me feel good afterwards, so I choose not to be in environments that have very thick smoke like that. And my boyfriend and a lot of people around me, they don't like it either. It's just something that I don't think a lot of people think about. So I try not to fault people who smoke in facilities or in areas where they're just not thinking about it. Like when I went to Europe, it was such a part of the culture there, and people just weren't cognizant of the fact that people around them would be harmed by the smoke. I don't think it's something you really think about unless you know someone that it affects, if that makes sense. But do what's best for you, make the decisions that are best for you. Now that I'm 25, now I'll pick up the red wine. I don't drink. Like, I will drink once every so often, but I can, you know, I'll go months or so without drinking and it doesn't bother me. It's like I said, it's moderation. It's more of, I've found out that it kind of makes me feel a little bit worse, and maybe that's just because I've become more in touch with my body and what my body feels like, because I've really spent 2 years working hard on exercising and working on my body, noticing what it feels like. Versus when I was 20 or so. I can definitely feel the effects of even just a few glasses of wine now. But one glass doesn't hurt anyone, right? I think you just need to figure out what is best for you. You need to sit with your body and figure out what decision is best for you, and just stick with that. If you're trying to navigate through the really awkward adolescent times, go with what I said before and try and sit with what you would feel comfortable with doing. And if it's not drinking, not doing anything, then put yourself mentally in that situation beforehand so that when it does arise, you're not there for the first time. You already have planned this out in your head on what you're gonna do, and you're comfortable with that. And if you do, go and experience life like I did. Have friends around you that are gonna support you and understand and make you feel like just like anybody else out at the bar. And at some level, I think some people think a little bit too hard into situations like this. It's very easy as a cystic fibrosis patient to kind of think of everything in a CF mindset, whereas I think this might be one of those situations where it's kind of an everyone mindset. Everyone's trying to figure out their own way through life with drugs and alcohol and social situations and what to do. And I think, yeah, there's a little bit more of an aspect of our health that we have to think about, but it's something we all try and navigate just like everyone else. So maybe talk to people, be open about your situation, But at the end of the day, do what's best for you. Have fun and moderation. Remember the chocolate cake. And that's really all I have to say. I will end the video here. I always try and make these so short, and they never end up being short. I'm so sorry. But with all of this, I hope you have a great day. Hope you enjoyed this CF and social situations video. If you did, definitely subscribe, do all of that. All of our links to our social medias as well as mine, and my email is down below if you ever have any questions, want to reach out. Obviously, there's a lot more detail I could have gone into in this story, but I will leave it as that. So with all of that, I will talk to you later. Thanks, guys. Remember to stay salty. Until next week, bye, guys.